Conversations, where we're your hosts, Eric and
Lynette.
Couples Conversations, just that. We talk to amazing, inspiring couples who together making a difference in their community, all while we're sipping on some Cuples Tea House tea. Joining us for our first show, our Philadelphia's own Jones and Jacquie Jordan, husband and wife, outspoken radio hosts, adventurers, travelers, all-out creatives. Jeff and Jacqueline host Community Voice on, is it still Tuesdays, guys?
Yep, Tuesday, yeah.
phillycam.org, a weekly talk show where they highlight inspiring stories of people of color in Philadelphia and South Jersey and how they're making a difference in their city. From young to old, parents to politicians, entrepreneurs to educators, neighbors to new people in the city, Community Voice taps into the voice of the people in the city while creating connections and providing resources to build caring and prosperous communities in Philadelphia and in New Jersey. Welcome y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who wrote that?
I know, that was
like
nice.
The best intro I've had.
We gotta look and see if the show really do all that. Do we do all that?
Little cut and paste here, little splash there.
That's good.
Okay, you like copy and paste and email that? So we can use that to introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
Gotta start doing all that stuff.
It's all in the delivery.
I see, but seriously, thanks for having us on the show. We greatly appreciate it.
Man, we're so appreciative that you all are willing to do this with us, especially this is our first show and something new that we're trying. Not only to highlight what great couples are doing, but just to have some good conversation about some things that really impact our community, because sometimes we need to chat some things out. And we do it over tea because it's what we do.
Early on in COVID, we did a virtual tea party.
Yeah.
And we had about, maybe 10, 12 people
about 12 people on the call.
And everybody was just sipping on tea. So we just love to share that experience with as many people as we can.
Yeah.
So so you all are sipping on the sapphire blue tea? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we got the sapphire blue going. Thank you.
Yeah.
So tell us about it. What you think? What do y'all think about this sapphire blue tea? It's one of our newest teas.
Yeah, like the color is awesome. It's like this deep turquoise, kind of sea greeny.
Right.
So it's really, really pretty. But it tastes amazing. Yeah. Like those lemongrass notes are just
So when you opened it up, you got that smell of it's mango in this.
Yes, mango in it.
Chamomile.
Okay.
Lemongrass, of course, and something called the sapphire blue PT. And this tea is naturally a blue color. So when you brew it up, it brews up this beautiful blue color. And if you add any citrus to this, it turns purple.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Let me go get a lemon.
Squeeze some lemon in it.
Yeah, or lime.
Lime. It turns purple.
Now see, this one is already a little purple.
Yeah.
Because of the lemongrass.
Yeah.
But if you just had like the plain sapphire blue tea, it would be like deep, deep blue.
Yeah. So if you were to squeeze lemon in it, and I like to make like almost like a lemonade out of it with some honey. It's good. It's good cold. It's really good cold.
It's good as an ice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeff, what are you drinking on? Same thing? What you drinking on?
Yeah, it's the same. We both.
Yeah. So we're doing that, and we're doing something called elderberry elixir.
So later on, we'll move on to the other one.
Yeah.
So this one, let me just tell you, elderberry is like one of the superpower herbs, right? So we've got a little hibiscus in this one, apple pieces. We've got, what else do we have in here?
Some lemongrass in there too.
Some lemongrass, rosehip, echinacea is in this one. Little raspberry and purple cornflower.
So that coupled with the elderberry has been really popular during COVID because everybody's trying to get an immunity boost. So it's really popular.
Yeah. And that's what we blasted it out there to some folks, like, everybody's telling us what to do and giving you directions what to do during COVID, but they're not saying how to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Between put a mask on, wash your hands, stay away from people. Nobody's telling you what to eat, what to drink, what other alternatives that you can do to boost your immune system.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah, and that's key because a lot of people are, not really being mindful of self-care in this space. I mean, because so many urgent needs are coming up, whether it's your homeschooling, whether it's you're working from home, and then trying to balance that whole mixture. Sometimes self-care gets often lost in the midst of that.
Yeah.
This is something that's, definitely helpful in that space. So, it's a beautiful flavor. And it's fragrant at the same time,
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you guys, as a husband and wife superpower team in Philadelphia, what do you guys do?
Wow, well, we shake up things and make a difference. That's what we do. As the expression goes, speaking truth to power and trying to elevate the mindsets of Black people and keep preservation of the culture. We really do that in a strategic and systematic way, from our radio show to the work we do in outreach in the communities, to whether it's writing or the plays that Jacqueline has done. So we really make sure we keep awareness in the forefront, all of the ways that Black people continue to promote, preserve, and protect the spaces that should be ours in our community. We don't do that with any compromise. We're always unapologetically all Black. We've made some friends, we've made some enemies, but at the same time, we've made some difference. So at that's kind of what we do. And we love to travel and get out and meet people, just as when we came down to visit you for, what was it, 2-3 years ago, something like that?
It's been a minute. It's been about 3 years ago.
Yeah. So I mean, with the COVID, we was trying to get up there, before the beginning, well, not before, but the beginning of this year. But when COVID happened, we weren't able to make those travels. But again, we just like to stay in that space of making sure we can, elevate the consciousness of Black folk, and not in that stereotypical stay woke mindset, but the substantive dialogue and conversations that has to be had that challenges folk. And we do that again on multiple platforms. Jacqueline had a play that she premiered in December of last year, and it was really beautiful. It dealt with several subcultural contexts of how different ways of trauma are impacting our community. And Jack, you can tell a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think we actually met you guys when we were in transition with Community Voice. So Community Voice was changing to a sort of different sort of format. And, we were looking for folks to really just make Community Voice not just better, but really inspire people on a different level. And so, I just started searching the internet, just scouring the internet for people, what's happening. And I think a friend of mine that I went to school with, she had put up your website, link to your website. And I'm like, Couples Tea, who the heck are these folks? So on the link, I'm like, they've got tea. Our dog wanted to join. He needs something.
Welcome.
And just decided, let's just get in the car and let's just go. They're at the farmer's market. Let's go check them out and let's see, what they have to do. And it just blossomed into this like almost hour and a half, 2-hour conversation.
Yep,
that
I remember.
Just about just whatever, and it was amazing and wonderful. And you guys were so open and so welcoming. And it's been really an amazing, amazing connection. So I just want to say before we get into the other stuff. But the play had been something that I have been working on for a number of years, just really trying to find my space as a writer. And, through many trials and tribulations, through writing poetry and saying, no, poetry is not really for me. Yeah, it is. To writing short fiction, to then really getting into playwriting, an opportunity presented itself for me to join this cohort of writers. And I said, let's just do it. And so within 6 months, the 5 of us had 5 short plays that we premiered in December. And it turned out to be an amazing event. Very scary, because ticket sales were like, week before people just started buying and just showing up. And
that's how Black people do. Black people don't buy nothing in advance.
That's how we do. I'm like, I'm encouraging y'all, get your tickets early, blah, blah, blah.
You gotta see who all going.
That's right.
Who's gonna be there? What's the weather? What I'm aware. Y'all got food?
So the week before, folks just really showed up, and we almost had a packed house, which was fantastic. But I really wanted to express my feelings in terms of how, not even like trauma that's, and all trauma is, bad, but not really like, gun violence. And I didn't want to talk about that, not that I wasn't interested in it, but I wanted to dig deeper to some other things. So the generational divide, how a lot of our elders feel that they are pushed back in this space for social justice. I wanted to talk about a different kind of addiction that we don't talk about. We talk about alcoholism and addiction. We don't talk about shopping addiction. Some of us have that, right? So we deal with our trauma. Cocaine is not our vice. Alcohol is not our vice.
Sure.
But whenever we feel something that we don't want to feel, I got to get a new bag. I got to, and we spend exorbitant amounts of money and then come home and feel like, I can't believe I just did that. So I wanted to talk about that. I also wanted to talk about Black men in the space of sort of mental health. And so those challenges express themselves, and how, the barbershop is a place where brothers go to really sort of decompress and find community. And so those basically were the four stories. And the church, and how, the church can impact us in a variety of different ways, sometimes good and sometimes bad.
Sure.
When trauma occurs, we sometimes find the church has abandoned us. So those were really the stories that I wanted to share, apart from my own experience, but also a collection of stories that I've heard from other people, little sound bites from individuals, situations that they've been in. That's just like, this needs to be shown. We need to talk about this. And I don't think in our community, we talk about those types of traumas enough. We talk about the big five or the big three, education, violence. We don't talk about some of these other things that really create challenges for us in our communities.
And the play kind of capsulized all that. It was called "This Is How We Tell Our Stories," and miss that because we don't realize, as Jack was saying, how do we really tell our stories? Are our stories always told just through the lens and narratives of mainstream media, through the big three, like Jack said, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, so to speak? Or are they told through other lenses, of the deeper trauma of how the church can hurt you and still be a place that grounded you at the same time? How you have this addiction that nobody sees just because you're dressing sharp, right? And also how does it interact in the barbershops when that's the most socialist place for men and beauty salons for women, but that's the most socialist place for them to go and get information and insight. But at the same time, it's a lot of pain there that's authentically talked about, but it just never transfers out. And of that play, and the reason why I wanted to share that as part of our conversation, that it led for me and Jack to have a lot of conversations in the community and challenge folk at certain tables to say, hey, this is important too. Not that this isn't, but we're digging deeper into the roots of it and looking at what can we do systemically, what can we do sustainably, and what can we do culturally to deal with these things that really aren't being talked about, but are kind of the real impetus of the things that we're seeing. Because there's no healing in the church, there's a lot of people who lose hope. And when they lose hope, they often turn to substances. And when they turn to substances, they commit crimes. If we peel back, it was because of that church hurt. You know what I mean? And it's so many times if we peel things back, it won't always be the aesthetics of what we think it is. It'll be the deeper thing. So that play kind of left for me and Jack to really have an additional platform on various levels to talk about some of the social ills and bring light to the challenges that we're facing. And through our network, we were able to help certain individuals, gain towards some path towards healing. And I'm very active in the city council and local politics here in Philly. So again, that gave me a chance to share with them a lens of how they need to look at some of the legislative policies and programs they're offering to our disenfranchised community. So yeah, that play is kind of something that really, really is springboarded us. Of course, it was in 2019, but it springboarded us into 2020 with a lot of energy and opportunity to really be in a space to make that difference and make that change and challenge the culture to elevate our people.
And Jeff acted in it, and I was in it.
Okay.
We had some difficulties with some of the cast members. Not many, but just one. And so we had to make some adjustments, real quick adjustments.
It wouldn't be the same without some drama.
Wouldn't be the same.
People get to be divas, they get a
so we just cut out the fat.
Only in my dressing room.
And so we just cut out the fat, and it was, Jeff, myself, and this other young lady, Lena Christina, who's, I'm telling you, if she doesn't get something soon, I'm gonna be out there protesting. She is an absolutely amazing individual, and she just gravitated to the role. She captured it, and she just set it off. She was first, so she just set off the whole atmosphere for it. So I'm grateful and just so appreciative of her work.
Man, I can't wait to look into that.
Isn't that interesting how you're saying how that springboarded you into 2020? Who would know that in 2020 you would have to deal with mental health issues, have to deal with addictions, with people being at home and online.
Right,
right. And who would have guessed that?
And talking about that, we were just having this conversation the other day, is it's going to be interesting to see the literature and the music and the art that comes out of the trauma that we are suffering, we are going through right now. And identifying the fact that we are this is a traumatic experience for us. And this isn't normal. This isn't normal. And I worry about the children, the children being pulled away from their childhood for the scary thing called a pandemic, but then also having to go through what we're going through in terms of being Black folks looking for civil rights and simple justice in this community. Hearing things as children like Black Lives Matter, but also I don't want to get killed by the police. So how are you guys in your community work dealing with that, or are you hearing things in terms of that type of trauma or the reaction of what's happening in our community?
Yeah, we are. We're hearing a multiplicity of those challenges, specifically with the youth. But, one of the things that me and Jack, we try and keep our thumb on the pulse of our seniors as well. Because what happens is that in this space of, technology, advancement of social media and things of that nature, our seniors get lost in that mix and their voice begins to be marginalized. Because just to answer your question first, yes, I deal a lot more with the youth in this space more than Jack at this present time, because I'm doing consulting work for various different schools. So I hear a lot of the youth in their mindset of being isolated. They can't quite grasp not seeing their friends. It'd be different, just seeing them on Facebook and Twitter, that's fine. But when they can't physically see them, it's just like a different mindset for them. So they're being challenged in that space, and it creates with also the digital divide creates with them the space of understanding now that we don't have, because when you have your cell phone, you think you can connect with everybody, but then you got to go home and do your schoolwork, and you don't have a laptop, you don't have accessible internet or high-speed internet. Now you really realize that, dang, I don't really have what I need to stay in contact with the people I need to. So it creates a chasm there, and then also creates a defranchising of socialization where they don't socialize outside of seeing their friends. So it's just really, really a challenge there. But I'll circle back to why we want to make sure we stay in touch with our seniors, because right now for them, a lot of those challenges are readily and prevalent. And there's no one to answer that voice in terms of, hey, have you checked to see if grandma got Zoom? Have you checked to see if, grandma called her, or anything of that nature? Because isolation for them is a totally different traumatic experience. And they're closer to the edge of, seeing the ancestors than we are. So now they're like, they need that hope to stay connected to their family. And when they don't have that, it creates for them a challenge. So we're looking at more, I don't want to say more, but we're looking at just the same. How do we balance with our youth, young adults, and our seniors so that we can have that, again, the community aspect of Ubuntu, I am what I am because of who we all are, that collective unity there, so that we can have our tribe, if you will, whole in that space. So yeah, for me, I hear a lot from our youth and I understand what their need and their cry is. But I also want to make sure I don't whisper the voice of our elders and who paved the way for us to be in this place to carry on the banner that we're carrying. So I don't know if you want to answer that, Jack.
Yeah, I'm with my grandmother 3 days out of the week. I decided the work from home will be split between home and her house. And
she'd be going for 3 days out the week. I'd be like, what you doing?
Right.
Like y'all were still dating.
Like y'all still dating.
Yeah.
You go to sleep. Nah, you go to sleep.
Yeah. And so for her, it's challenging to ask for help. My grandmom has always been someone who's been fiercely independent. I mean, she worked up until she was 78.
How old is your grandmother?
She is 80. She'll be 85 this year.
Okay, my mom is 90 and they are feisty, just like that, independent. Can't tell them nothing.
On one end, she's like, oh, I to, bother you. And then on the other end, if I say I'm going to the store, it's a long list of stuff. And then the phone calls. Don't forget the butter.
Right.
Being with her and sharing that space with her and helping her navigate through those challenges. I mean, one of the things that's been big for her is missing church and missing the community of church. And so missing her friends at church. And for her, watching it online is just not the same. She has a very good friend she goes to church with, and they chat every day. And I asked her, I said, can you please just make sure that you and grandma talk every day? Because she needs that. It's fine that I'm there, right? We do stuff in the garden, hang out, we do that kind of stuff. But her community has stepped up in a way that I didn't necessarily know that they would. And so other elders, other individuals who are around her age or maybe a little bit younger have stepped up, and they call and they talk and they have these conversations. And that's something that's been really enjoyable for me to watch. But I also am saddened by that too, because not every senior in our community has that.
Right.
How do we make sure that not only their basic needs are met, but their social needs are met as well?
Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah. Like I said, his mother is 90. My mother, she's in her mid 70s. I want to say late 70s. But she's been missing interaction. She came over yesterday and was like, I just needed to get out of the house. She's like, we're just in the backyard just chatting it up, because I've only seen her maybe a handful of times since this whole thing started. We talk all the time on the phone, but it's a lot different. Like you said, that social disconnect is real. She usually goes out every Friday night, and now that she can't have that, she's done everything she can think of around her house.
Sure. And then we had to worry about, especially through all populations, but that population suffering from loneliness. And even though my mom's in a senior building, my mom is 90, but she doesn't like to hang with old people.
She calls somebody 1 year older than her, old ladies.
Old ladies. No, 10 years younger than her. I don't want to hang with these old ladies. So then again, she's missing the social contact with her friends and her family. And so again, that's important. I'm glad you brought that up. We have to pay attention to our seniors.
It's been a challenge, in terms of not, even for people our age, like not being able to, as social people, naturally.
Listen, let us tell you how hard it has been. If we want to pause the recording real quick, how hard it has been for me and Jack not to be able to travel.
Oh, I know
how difficult that is. I mean, because it was like, and I might be exaggerating, but it's like maybe 4 weekends out of the month we were on the road, doing something somewhere, whether it was locally, whether it was, across state lines or whatever, on a plane, train, automobile. And then we got that shut down. He was like, hey, what we gonna do?
What we gonna do?
Right.
I think like you said, doing things around. Yeah, like you said, doing things.
You can't even imagine what the summer calendar looked like for us this year. And it was all erased.
Gone.
I mean, just like our spring, what was it? Fall. Spring calendar. Gone. We didn't just do nothing. I mean, we had quite a few plans and things, even our anniversary got kind of washed out, it was right in the midst of all that. It's like, wow.
Because you guys just celebrated
your first, right? Is that again?
You just celebrated your first anniversary.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we couldn't go nowhere though.
That here had Cheesecake Factory, so
y'all could have zoomed with us,
baby.
Y'all could have zoomed with us.
We'd have put the
well, see, now we know, right? Now we know. We
could have done a virtual wine tasting.
Right. But you feel it. You feel it after a while. I mean, being in a relationship, we're coming up on 9 years.
Okay, congrats.
Our relationship is great, but sometimes you just need another outlet.
I need connection.
Yeah, another outlet, another atmosphere, breathe some different air, and so it really was a challenge in that space, because again, that's what we like to do. That's kind of, if you will, the ethos of our relationship of our marriage is that we travel and go adventures, we get out there. So not to be able to do that, not that it caused any problems in our marriage or anything like that, but going back to how you were saying, it impacts the mental, because if the rhythm of your life flows in a certain way and then that rhythm is interrupted, how do you deal with that? And it's not so much accepting the new normal, because I've never been a fan to accept the new normal. Right. What I've always fight to hold on to is sustain what we had and bring that back to life and energize that and revive that, because the new normal will create a level of complacency where you don't go back to what you used to have or used to be. And I believe nowadays, for Black people, we've gotten so used to the new normal, we've lost so much of our cultural connectiveness and we've assimilated into today's society. So now we no longer go back because it's old now, and it's not necessarily old. It shouldn't be old. It should be something that should have been preserved, because the ancestors gave us the foundation to build on. And without that foundation, we would not be stable in this space. So, me and Jack was talking about this the other day. Part of what we see sometimes, and Jack, you can jump in. I'll let you jump in here. Part of what we look at sometimes is the appropriation of our culture so that we can assimilate into the white society. So we'll white people to appropriate our culture just so that we can be accepted to assimilate into their society. What happens next, all of our culture gets lost, because now we let the oppressor create the standard which we're living at, and now we're chasing the oppressor's standard, which we will never catch up to. Society and country is built off of white ideology, white male supremacy, white privilege, but yet they set the standard on what success is. But again, we'll allow for them to appropriate our culture so that we can assimilate into their lifestyle, which they will never accept us in. Jack, you can.
Well, and part of the loss is community. Like we've gotten so far away from, being able to knock on a neighbor's door and say, hey, can I borrow sugar? Or if you watch my kids, then I'll go over and make sure your mom is okay. Like those types of things. We don't do that anymore. And social distancing has created more of that distance. And this pandemic has created more of that distance where, we can look outside and see something happening, and we might record it, but we won't intervene. And so being in those spaces for us, can be really challenging, because that's not who we are. That's not, that may be who we have grown to be, but that is not who innately we are. That's not through our DNA. Community runs through our DNA. Communal runs through our DNA. And the more and more we move past that, the worse it's going to really be for our communities. Because again, if I look outside and see some child being, snatched in a car, it should be innately in me to run outside, not to pull out the phone and start recording. Now, again, recording has helped in some situations, but I think our inability to act in situations has caused this divide in our community. We've got to act, and we have to move, and we have to make sure that we are not so much concerned as the ever-present nature for ourselves, but concerned for the present nature, the threatening nature of whatever the situation is happening, right? So we have to make sure that our children are protected, our seniors are protected. We have to make sure that we are protected. And I think spaces when you only have your husband, as a protector, or you only have your wife as somebody who arrived for you, that your community becomes smaller. How do we branch out to that, to include other people in our neighborhoods, in our communities, in our schools, to make sure that we're all looking out for each other? And I think, in this pandemic, that's going to be one of the things that we're going to have to move towards, is making sure that we get back to community. The most important thing for us is our community. It's what sustained us. It's what has made us strong. It's made us resilient. We have got to make sure that we get back to the basics.
Do you notice, Jackie,
arts community?
Do you notice now, like with everybody with the mask, nobody's giving you eye contact anymore?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Heads down when they walk by. It's like you have a mile in between you when you're seeing people, this close. I find that very disheartening.
It is. Yeah.
Especially at a time now where we need to be, like you said, more communal. We're we live in a very individualized society now, but we are a tribal communal people trying to fit into this individualized society when we don't have to. We can still have the village concept and the sense of community, but I think and Jeff, you made that point, is that so many of us try to fit in.
Mhm.
as opposed to just being who we are.
We are.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of us know who we are
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
and know
Yeah.
what that is and where we came from and how collectively
Mhm.
on all stages
Mhm.
we've survived in this country.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
just right now through cooperative economics, folks are all of a sudden supporting Black businesses. We're like, yo, we've been here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those of us, we've been supporting, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
We love the
Yeah.
support, but we've been here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we've always I've always tried to support Black businesses whenever I
Mhm.
can. And not
Mhm.
just like in recent years. It's like,
Yeah.
I want a Black doctor. I want a Black
Mhm.
dentist.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
people,
Right.
in my corner who
Right.
who I can have some type of understanding and connection with.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure. Right.
always.
Yeah, and it's always that fine struggle of supporting Black business, but also, and again, me and Jack often catch a lot of flack when we say this. We're just not gonna support you just because you're Black. We're just not.
Yeah. You got to have your stuff together.
So, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, your T-shirt look nice. You know, I'm sure your mama like it,
Right.
but
I ain't wearing
I'm
that.
yeah, I ain't wearing that, right? So you know, Jack is, if you will, the queen of supporting Black businesses. And she makes me feel like like I'm Scrooge or something. Because she becomes like, yeah, I bought this from this one, and I bought this from this one. And
That'd be me. That'd be
all
me.
right. Let me
Why
go
you buy
find
those
somebody
cans?
Black.
She was like, why you buy
Find a
those
Black
cans?
kid
Those
sell
cans
lemonade or
don't-
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so she supports in that capacity, but again, we don't support just because they're Black, whether they're politicians, entrepreneur, business owner. We support because they're substantive in what they're doing, and we see the longevity of what they can provide. We think that's got to be the key, because nowadays sometimes Black folk in particular try and shame you into
Oh, yeah.
supporting them when they got crappy products, crappy service, or they're gimmicky. I can't associate elevation with gimmicky or crappy. What I can associate elevation with is something that's sustainable, that we can see has some vision to it and some substance. And again, Jack is excellent with that. But we catch a lot of flack because some people be emailing me and Jack, because we got the radio show and so forth. Hey, can you support you? Just like, no. Well, why not? Well, first of all, sister, brother, then we have to break it down to them, and then we get an enemy of their own misdeeds. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. So, and that happens in that space. But I want to circle back to a conversation that me and Jack was having yesterday, because you mentioned about, the name and knowing who you are, because we talked about that too. And Jack, talk about what we were talking about in the name tags and all that.
Yeah. I've gotten into the space of really going back to very nostalgic times. And so we were talking about music, and I've been doing some reading and some writing about music. And I was just thinking back to us wearing like the bamboo earrings with the name in it, and then the nameplate necklaces. And of course I had them. And I wore them proudly.
Bamboo earrings, at
right?
least 2
At
pairs.
least
2 pairs.
And then, like, why did we do that? What was it that was so attractive about a piece of gold with just your name on it, right? My grandmother used to always say, what your name is. What do you need to have something with your name on it, right? But for me, that was me sharing to the world who I am and showing the world who I am, right? Because you mispronounce my name, right? And Jackie is easy, but, you get in class and people can't seem to say Jackie for whatever reason, or Jackie for whatever reason. But this for me was my way, my young way of showing people who I am. This is who I am. Mm-hmm. If you can't see me, and if I am invisible to you, at least you can look at this and know exactly who I am. Yeah. And I'm talking too about, why is it that, whenever there is music or whenever we hear that drum beat, there's something just spiritually in us that makes us feel like we gotta move, right?
That's
and
it.
You dance, you be a terrible dancer, but you move. Like it's completely instinctual, our ability to move and our need to move. And so I guess I'm tying all those things into, this is the way in which we find out who we are. Mm-hmm. And it's not just about, doing ancestry DNA, which is great if you want to do those things. But I mean, really trying to find out who we are. Why do I feel like whenever I hear a crazy bass line? Like, why do I feel that way when I hear that drum beat? Why do I connect with somebody who has a distinctly Nigerian or Kenyan name? Like, why do I feel that?
Yeah.
Why do brothers the head nod when we walk down the street? Or, why do I say to a sister whose hair looks amazing, sis, your hair is, why do we do that?
Yeah.
Because it's more than being kind to one another, right? There is something communal in that. There's something instinctively in us that we do that, right? And what is that? And what does that mean? And what does that mean for us? And if we continue on this trajectory of not recognizing those things and being in tune to those things, we're going to lose who we are.
Yeah.
And so connect to that, right? And it's not something simple as just, look at these crazy kids dancing and doing the stanky leg. What is that?
Right.
That's something more than just them looking like, they're going nuts.
Oh, absolutely.
It's something deeper in that. And it's something deeper in the creativity of that. And there's a connection to that. I mean, if anybody has ever seen a group of teenagers dance and really feel the music and dance, it is the most beautiful thing you ever want to see.
Oh, yeah.
It look crazy and wild and all that, but it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. What is that?
Yeah. What is that?
Yeah.
It's DNA.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's connecting back to who we are, subcultural innately, and it surfaces because we're always in a space. Black folk is always in a space of looking for home. And again, we was talking the other day about, in Philadelphia, and I'm sure down in your area too, they're removing statues and things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I get it. These people are, slave owners, racist, and so forth. But when we look at it on a deeper level, this is not our country, and these are not our heroes. So this country put up statues of their heroes. Let them.
Okay.
It's not like, it's not like, that they're taking down statues of, Martin Luther King, Obama. These are their heroes who they idolize in their country. And even if we take these statues down, which some of them have been, displaced, it doesn't erase the steep ideology of racism, bigotry, hierarchy, white privilege that is still steeped within the mindset of the people who even some of them statues. So, what does it change? Are we always going to settle for symbolic victories in the space we need to have substantive change? Not far too much. We're selling for symbolic victories and saying that's a start. Well, no, I'd rather start at the beginning than at the end. So it's just, it's just, that's just something how we see it.
It's like I always say, I don't want to drink out your water fountain. Show me how I can get my own water. And bottle it and sell it.
And sell it. Yeah. They will give you money, but no power. And if they give you power, they give you no ownership.
Yeah.
So
right.
What
are you gonna do with that? Right.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, this has been
good.
great.
We done finished our tea. You got amped up now. We about to get another fill up in here.
I do have another question though.
Okay.
Sure.
Husband and wife. How in business together, in partnership together. How's that working for you guys?
Lord.
From another husband and wife. In business together, in partnership together.
How they say on TV? Get the camera on.
Nothing to see here.
Next question. No, it's in all fair honesty, and I'm sure Jack, she'll echo in her way as well. It's been challenges as well, as well as the good part, because me and Jack are, I don't want to say polar opposite, because we have a lot of things that we are in sync with. But, my personality is more reserved, laid back, observative, strategic, straightforward. But Jack is more analytical, thoughtful, mindful of every detail. Whereas me, I'm like, we go from A to Z. Let's just, she's like, no, we got A, B, C, D, right down the line. And so, for us, so for us, it's been challenges has been coming in because, of course, we only known each other for less than 5 years, right? So just to have those way of doing business and successful at each level, because with GDA Consulting, of course I had that before I met Jack. I was successful with GDA Consulting. She had Connect Soul Media. She was successful with that. So here now it's just like I fly by the seat of my pants, and she is one who's more analytical and didactic. So it's just like, okay, now I'm like. It's
Yes, everything.
And she's like,
What you
she's like,
said.
no, we're not skipping those steps. We're just gonna do it this way.
But
And
see, and then that's me.
it's flexible. It's flexible in that regard too. Because a lot of times she's like, boy, this better work. Because if we, and a lot of times I'm like,
Jackie.
yeah.
And
So
I see
you know,
the similarities.
I ain't saying that.
In a lot of, I'm the analytic one. I'm the,
Mhm.
I have to have steps and I have to have organization. And you don't agree?
Huh?
You don't agree?
I
I mean, it's been for us, you know, we oftentimes have to agree to disagree.
yeah.
And then a lot of times, you know, we're trying different things, and I might throw something out there and he'll go with it against, you know, his better judgment and vice versa. So we find a way to make it work.
I think our thing is, again, like you two, we both operated successful businesses
Yeah.
separate from each other. And then to start something brand new, like Couples Tea, that we had no experience in, and learning it as we went along is great, was great, but we're both super passionate about it, right? And that passion sometimes turns into but we both want to get to the same point. We have different ways of getting there, and we just have to agree that, okay, we both want to get here. Let's try to merge these roads in order to get there safely.
And for me too, like I'm a introvert with extrovert qualities, and Jeff is just an all around extrovert. Like, you know, I gotta see people, I gotta be around people. Me, I'm like, no, we can do it from home. Let's just and it's just like, you know, not that I don't like people, but I would prefer to not be around people that much. But only in the space where I feel like it's good, right?
Okay.
Right.
Like if you invite me somewhere and I'm like, no, because there's the stress of getting dressed. There's the stress of what am I going to wear? There's the stress of who's going to be there. It's the stress of, you know, I can't eat certain food.
Yeah.
It's like all of those anxiety ridden things for me. That's just like, I would just prefer to stay home.
So last winter we got an invitation to the mayor's ball, and I am like, you know, I share, you know, I'm very connected in the political space here locally, the council, sit on commissions and so forth. And, you know, prior to the ball, we talked, and there's several people in city council who Jacqueline just does not like, and because I don't particularly care for them anyway, politically or personally. So anyway, it's a humorous story in my regard, because Jacqueline's like, I don't want to go because I don't like
and that's it, right?
Seriously,
you know, I wasn't tied to the fact that we had not go, but I thought it'd be, you know, nice thing nonetheless. But she's like, I don't want to go because I don't like. He gonna be there. She gonna be. I don't like none of them people. I ain't gonna go. And I was like, damn, she's serious.
And then it comes down this to me. It's like, all right, what kind of food they have? All right, I'm only going for the food. All right, I'm only going for food. That's it. That's it.
I mean, I'll go.
Right. If you want to go, I'll go. But I ain't gonna like it.
In some cases the food works, but in other cases she's like, I don't care.
Right.
But just to circle back to, you know, kind of cap off your answer to your question, that part of our personalities is part of the challenge, but the love and the understanding of what we're, like you were saying too, what we're trying to accomplish really balances us. It gives us the buoyancy to bring any disagreement up to a level of understanding on both parties' part where it doesn't hinder the process. I mean, Community Voice Radio Talk Show is the top rated radio talk show at the station that we're at. You know, we were award-winning radio show. We were nominated for various different awards. And none of this had not have happened had I not made a change in the format that Jackie suggested and strategically implemented. Now, me, again, before Jackie implemented those things, I was just like, bring a guest on our interview. It's going to be good because I'm good. She no. What if you have a bad guest? How are you going to deal with that? So she put in a space for formatting the show to got those recognitions and kudos. And, you know, it's all based on the love that we have for each other's projects, and me working on her play. You know, I didn't, you know, volunteer to take a role, but when I did, I had to go all in because I wanted to represent her craft and art the level of what she expected. And she treated me no different in terms of direction and rehearsals. You know, when I missed the line, she'd be like, no,
No.
you know, put some feeling into it. Can you
Yeah,
do this?
read the
And
line
I was
like
like, this is cool. I felt this
Again. Right.
Really?
That's too funny.
I thought I nailed it.
Right, right.
No,
I was
you
good.
didn't.
Yeah.
Try it again.
I felt
Yeah,
good.
I was good. I dropped the mic.
Right. I liked it.
But so, yeah, I like it. Yeah, so you know, it's the love that keeps us going. And I know that, you know, maybe the quote unquote cheesy answer, but it's the truth. It's the love and the commitment that we have to each other to understand that the work that we do as husband and wife is the most important work that we'll do, and we want to maintain that. And it's challenging to say, you know, hey, let's take the hat off, let's take the work hat off, and just be husband and wife, because I mean, you know, can that really ever be done? Because Jack is mad at me about something in the workspace, which has happened before, and vice versa, right? If we're upset with each other because of something in the workspace, it's not like we can come home and be like, whew, okay, how was your day? You're like,
Right.
how my day was.
Right.
So it's just like in the real space, we deal with that in a total understanding of, hey, you know, she's upset. So let me give them their space and try and find a way to come back to conversate about that, or you know, make it a space where it's open. And that's one of the things we always want to have in our marriage that really benefits us, is that we have what we call brave conversations about things that, you know, are challenging but yet still important. And whether that's work or, you know, personal, but we don't let it bleed over, or don't let it, you know, sugarcoat it in the sense of, oh, that was just work. We know that it can impact our marriage as well. So open conversation and that balance. At the end of the day, I mean, I share with Jack, and you know, always will, that she's my forever. And if she's going to be my forever, I have to be her right now and always. So, you know, from that space.
And you guys set an amazing example. I mean, we talked about that on the way home when we first met you. It just for me blew my mind, the way in which you two work together, and just the love, Eric, you have for your wife. I mean, it's just like it felt like, you know, it felt like Couples Tea was sort of, you know, now we know differently, but Couples Tea was sort of her project, and then you were just all in, completely in, and then, you know, she was like, hey, you know, got to display, you know, and it was so beautiful to see.
Yeah, and then we came down.
The way in which you two work together. And for me, us, it gave us just a beautiful example, because we didn't have that example, right? So I didn't have it, and Jeff didn't have it either. That beautiful example of what, you know, working together and being married can really look like. You know, and of course it's not perfect, but you all for us set the standard for it. It's just like, all these people talking about relationship goals. No, that right there, relationship goals. So thank you for that, and thank you for pouring into us, and you not only supporting us, but also again giving us that example for us to live by.
We appreciate it.
Pouring tea.
Right. Now all we need to do is be in the same room with each other.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. You know, once these COVID streets clear up, you know, we know how to find y'all. We found y'all,
and I know how to find you too. And look, I'll give you more notice than, hey man, I'm in Philly right now.
He's like, well, I got a show.
Hey man, I'm in Philly right now. What you doing? He's like,
but that was love though, because you knew you could reach out, right? And you know, the schedule just didn't line up, and we apologized too, because we were down in Florida, and your daughter was trying to connect with us, and I don't know what happened with that.
That's right. Was Florida or was Atlanta?
Atlanta. Is Atlanta? Yeah, I knew we were somewhere. Catch up with us, and we like, you know, couldn't catch up with her even for a minute. But yeah, it's all love when you have someone you know you can reach out to that's like family for you. So if ever you are in Philly, man, just don't hesitate to reach. You know, maybe we might go for a cheesesteak or something like that.
Hey, come on, man. That's all I'm talking about.
It's a cheesesteak right here.
That's all I'm talking about, right?
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.